I wanted to talk to you about fall because it's really a great time that you can do some very simple things that's going to have a profound impact on your trees. And so let's get right into it. Now, number one, we want to actually inspect your trees and prune them carefully. And what that means is, everything's falling. So you're going to be able to see your trees a little bit better. This is a great time to go out there and look for fungus, look for, broken, dead limbs. You're going to be able to tell them a lot easier with some of those leaves gone. And by the way, as the days get cooler and the nights get longer, what's going to happen is that's going to stimulate a hormonal response in your trees to where they're going to start pushing all of the resources that are above ground down into the root system. Now, this is a really critical survival technique, especially up north where it gets colder, because if they kept the leaves on them, if they kept all those resources up there, I don't know what you heard last, but I was under the understanding that water freezes, and as it does, it can expand, and that can damage the cells in your tree and even kill them. So oftentimes, if you live in a warmer climate and you get that random hard freeze like we do down in Houston sometimes, it does a lot of damage because the trees just aren't prepared for that. So fall's great because your trees are pushing those resources down, and it's not going to impact them nearly as much by pruning at this time of year. Also, you want to actually add a protective layer of mulch. Now, you may think like this is not the right time. Spring's probably a better time for whatever reason, just because all the cool kids are doing that. However, fall is rather the perfect time to do that because, like I said, trees pushing all of the resources down into the ground. Now, unless you get like permafrost type soil where it gets cold for 6 months out of the year and stays below freezing most of the winter, chances are your roots are actually growing a lot more than they do during the growing season. So adding a 2 or 3 inch layer of organic mulch, and if you want to go an extra step, you can actually add a compost layer, and that'll double the benefits. And what that means is that extra layer of mulch, that's going to prep it for winter if you get colder in the area, or in the summer if you get warmer during the area. And it's also going to feed the microbes. Now, look around me. This is kind of a natural area. And if I were to walk off of the path, I'm actually going to feel a bit of a cushion there where the soil kind of sinks a little. And the reason that is there's a ton of organic matter, usually up to at least the top 6 inches of soil within a forested area. And by adding that mulch, you're actually emulating that. And the benefits are unbelievable. You're going to feed the microbes, feed the tree, create a barrier. It's actually going to stop a lot of your weeds from growing in. And by the way, if you hire guys to come cut your landscape and your grass, a lot of times they'll actually come in with those line trimmers and just hack, chop, and slice everything. Well, a nice layer of mulch is actually going to create a very solid barrier. So mulch is great. Make sure it's organic. You don't want the colorized crap. That's all plastic and junk anyways. Another thing you want to do is make sure you keep watering during the fall and through the winter. And again, your roots are still growing. Your tree still needs water. Now, you don't have to do it nearly as much as when all that water evaporates during the summer, but you want to give them at least 2 inches of water every single week. And if you know me, deep and infrequent, do not water your azaleas every day where your tree roots are. You will cause damage and create a perfect breeding ground for fungal pathogens and things you don't want in your tree. Another thing you want to do is apply a balanced, organic, preferably what we would call a biostimulant type fertilizer. And again, your roots are still growing, so your tree's going to get all of those resources, or at least a good portion of them. They're not going to leach out unless you've got a super sandy soil. But if you've got like a clay or a loam type soil, just your average standard soil, this is a really, really great time to fertilize because, again, your deciduous trees, they're actively growing. Your evergreen trees also are going to benefit from this tremendously because above ground, they're actually growing too. And so make sure, I prefer a brand called Microlife. Milorganite is a great product. There's a lot of really great organic ones, but make sure it's got some good nitrogen, good phosphorus and potassium, preferably in an organic form, and make sure there's some biostimulant type properties to it, such as molasses, humic acid, fulvic acid, that'll not only feed the tree, but feed the microbes that are going to help your trees thrive. Last thing, you want to clear the fallen leaves, but not always. So normally, if you've got all of that debris fall during the winter and during the fall, that is going to stimulate a lot of new growth in the ground. And what I mean by that is not necessarily trees and grass, but I mean like the microbes. And believe it or not, there's an average of up to 6 billion microbes in a 1-inch cube of soil, up to 22,000 different varieties. So that's going to emulate your mulch and your forest type scenario, which is exactly where trees are designed to be. And so, but however, here's the caveat. If you had problems with bugs or problems with fungus, things like that, specifically regarding the leaves of the tree, you actually want to rake them up. Now, this is a really great natural way to get rid of 80-90% of those pathogens, because a lot of times those damaging bugs will actually lay eggs on the leaves. Now springtime comes around, now they're right back at it. The young emerge from the eggs, they go right up into your tree and cause more damage. Same with fungal pathogens. That fungal pathogen is going to stay there, your tree is going to take it back up, and you repeat the cycle. So by raking them up, if you've got a problem, that's a really great way to ensure that you don't pass those pests, those diseases on to next season. Fall is a great time to start looking out for your trees, start doing these very, very simplified things that are going to make a big difference next year and make sure you have less problems. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure and visit us on the web if you need help with your trees at arboristondemand.org, and be sure and follow for more great tree tips.